Hey guys, Nick Horowski here, and what I want to talk to you about today is the distinction of two different movement patterns that they're not distinct in a lot of cases, which is a real problem because it's important to be able to do both of them. And it's the squat versus the bend. So simply a squat, upright, stay upright, bend in the knees, coming back up. Again, to see from the side, upright, squatting, and back up. Versus the bend is more of a hip hinge. And I want you to think about it as such, because the two will really oftentimes get confused. And really it usually comes down to people are always squatting. Oh, I'm supposed to picking up something off the floor, got to get over top of it, keep my back, I can't use my back, can't use my back. That's garbage. You better be using your back or it's going to get weak and you're going to get injured. Distinction is doing it properly, and that's what you want to focus on. Now to squat, hey, you have to squat down. You squat down into a chair, onto the toilet, like getting into the car. These are all things where we squat down to do. And again, they're very important. These are going to be using the legs much more, so quads. We're going to get hamstrings, glutes. I mean, you're using all the different muscles every movement, so it doesn't really matter distinguishing that. But when we're hinging is really what we want to do when we are picking stuff up, because now we're really tying the glutes on in. We're getting those hamstrings to be able to pull something up. We're going to be bringing it up like this. We want to get over top of something, but we don't want to squat down for it. We want to go ahead, bend, keep that nice neutral back, and coming up with it. This is important. I'm a physical therapist. I see people injuring their backs all the time. My doctor told me I should never bend, never squat. Well, then what are you going to do? How are you going to ever get out of this position, right? Like, if you ever want to sit down onto something, you have to learn how to squat. So that's first and foremost. But if you're supposed to lift with your legs, well, you can't only lift with your legs. If you're not using your trunk, your torso, all those deep abdominal wall, the inner unit muscles, you're going to get into trouble. So it's important to learn the distinction between the two because you have to have a strong back. The reason being, how often have you heard, I just bent over to tie my shoe, bent over to pick up a pencil, a tape roll, I don't know, whatever, a binder, something really small, a book. And yet people injure their backs doing this all the time. Why? Because their back isn't strong enough to begin with. The back muscles must be trained. They need to be just like any other muscle, and they should be strong as ox. Like this should be one of your strongest movements, strongest lifts if you're doing it in the gym, or just, hey, you're going out in the backyard. You're working hard. You're lifting things. This is a must. You have any little children, you have to learn how to bend to pick them up properly. If you have, I'm looking at my dog food over here. If I'm getting that, if I'm getting a case of water at the store, whatever it is, I have to learn that distinction again between the squat, and the squat is more of an upright torso, but if I had an upright torso, I would just fall over. So I'm certainly using my back when I'm doing that versus more of a hip hinge where I'm really maximizing those glutes, those big honking muscles to really lift big heavy things. So again, keep this in mind. Maybe it's time to incorporate this in a little bit of your training, which is always important, to do a little bit of every movement out there, but making sure that you distinguish between the squat and the bend.